welcome to the first season of the Is the Planet Doomed podcast. This is a project produced by the students of a course with the same name in the Department of Geography at Colgate University. By unpacking some of the world's most pressing and complex problems, the episodes in this podcast help answer the question, well, are we doomed? In this episode, Christian finds an unexpected cause behind the Amazon's deforestation.
Santino Senna, a Brazilian native, helps to slash and burn land in Mato Grosso state to make room for crops on Brazil's agricultural frontier, the Amazon. Covering an area of over 2 million square miles, the Amazon rainforest is the largest forest in the world. Producing more than 20% of the world's oxygen, it is no wonder it is nicknamed the Earth's lung. We all know this natural wonder has been under a lot of stress over the past couple of decades, specifically through deforestation. 200,000 acres a day of deforestation to be exact. Every day the home of over 5 million species of plants, animals, and critters gets about 200,000 football fields smaller. To put that in perspective, that's over half of all the world's known species. Sounds horrible, right? Up until recently, past American presidents have made an effort to help the environment. One American president's attempt at a greener world are especially important to the story I'm about to share. In 2002, the Bush administration signed a very important $190 billion bill. This legislation provided generous subsidies to U.S. farmers for growing corn destined for conversion into biofuels. With climate change and skyrocketing oil prices, a greener renewable source of fuel sounds great, right? Wrong. If only things were that simple. Okay, so U.S. farmers now have huge incentives to farm corn. Fine. The problem is that these recently transitioned corn farmers had to come from somewhere, and this somewhere was soybean farming. U.S. corn production soared and soy production plummeted. In 2006, the numbers had corn production at a 19% increase and soy production at a 15% decrease since the bill. The U.S. is the world's leading producer of soy, giving them a lot of control over global soy prices. You'll remember from your Econ 101 course that when supply decreases, demand and price increase. This decrease in soy production from the world's leading producer forced global soy prices to nearly double. Now this is where the connection with the Amazon comes in. Brazil, which contains more than 50% of the Amazon within its borders, is the world's second leading producer of soy. With skyrocketing global prices, Brazilian farmers saw a gold mine in soy production. Soy farming requires an incredible amount of land. It didn't take long for people to come to the conclusion that a soy farm was more profitable than a couple of acres of trees in a forest, so down came the trees. This influx of soy farming in Brazil was the cause of a dramatic increase in Amazon deforestation beginning in 2003. What may be even more surprising, though, is that soy farming was just the tip of the iceberg.
The beef industry was occupying most of the land here and causing all this deforestation, but with, let's say, less than 1 cow per hectare. So there weren't many cows, there wasn't much production coming off this great area being cleared.
Okay, so let's back up a bit. How does this relate to soy farming? So, global soy prices skyrocketed, increasing the amount of Brazilian soy farms and the total amount of soy in Brazil. Soy, like many other beans or grains, is considered a good feed for cattle and is often a primary ingredient in most cattle feeds. So, as a result of high soy prices, soy-based cattle feeds became expensive. Higher costs for the producers of beef forced them to sell their beef at a higher price. Global beef prices were now on the rise just like soy. Now here's where the Brazilian cattle ranchers had the advantage. As a result of the boom in soy production in Brazil, there was now a surplus of soy in just about every Brazilian region. The sheer amount of soy in Brazil allowed local soy prices to stay relatively low compared to the high global prices. It didn't take a genius to realize soy-fed cattle were now the new California gold rush in Brazil. 80% of all soy produced in Brazil went right into the local cattle. The profit margins for Brazilian cattle ranchers were now tremendous. So, what happened? Well, the Brazilian cattle ranchers did what anyone who wanted to make money in Brazil would have done, and they bought land. And a lot of it. 80% of all the Amazon's deforestation worth of land. Or in other words, 25 to 50,000 square kilometers a year. Now, what makes this problem even more frustrating is that, more often than not, the land is used with minimal efficiency. Ian Thompson, director of the Amazon program at the Natural Conservancy, explains how.
Cattle ranching is the main driver of deforestation in the Amazon. Around 80% of the areas already deforested are now occupied by cattle ranching. And the cattle from farms like this one we are seeing is sent to slaughterhouses like Bertin Slaughterhouse here in Marabá. And Bertin sends the final products from cattle like leather and meat to companies all over the world. And these products become known brands in the world.
So, what exactly are the consequences of all this deforestation? Well, the consequences are very different for different regions. Locally, if this rate of deforestation continues, most of the Amazonian tropical forest would disappear in 50 to 100 years, likely within our lifetime. Even more unsettling, transforming the world's largest rainforest into an open pasture would have drastic effects on the climate of the region. The entire climate system of Central South America would fall out of sync. Surface and soil temperatures would increase by as much as 3 degrees Celsius, or 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Simply more light would make its way to the surface. The increase in surface temperature would also reduce the storage capacity of the soil for moisture. This would decrease precipitation rates in the region by as much as 25 inches a year. That might not seem like a lot, but for a complex ecosystem, that can have drastic effects on the plant diversity, the basis for all ecosystems. Okay, so Brazil would turn into an arid pasture. But what about the rest of the world? Well, to start, the Amazon generates rain clouds that water some of the world's most productive farmlands. This includes North America's northwest and regions anywhere between Argentina and Texas. Quite obviously, without these rain clouds, those regions would most likely be left to the same fate that Brazil would, arid and hot. More importantly, the Amazon rainforest serves as a kind of sponge, cushioning the world from global warming. So as humans continually flood the world with greenhouse gases, the Amazon's endless plant life absorbs a decent amount of that carbon, preventing it from entering the atmosphere. So, if you're thinking this all sounds really bad, we should do something about this, you are right. And the truth is that the Brazilian government has been trying to do something about this for a long time. Over the past 40 years, countless laws and acts have been enacted by the Brazilian government to try and protect the Amazon. Perhaps the most important of which was the soy moratorium, an agreement between private enterprise and various governments to not buy soy grown from Amazonian land that was deforested after 2006. Sarah Shiroka, a representative from Greenpeace, set out to investigate the effectiveness of this policy. From the sky, she monitored regions of the Amazon after the moratorium and discovered a shocking truth.
Deforestation has increased in the areas that we monitor, and that's happened for the first time ever since 2006 when the moratorium began.
At the end of the day, the Amazon is simply just too big to monitor and protect by the Brazilian government. Stabilizing global soy prices of soy and beef have had success in recent years lowering deforestation rates. But regardless, the deforestation still exists. The way I see it, the problem lies with the economic opportunities that are available in Brazil. Brazil has over 14 million people out of work and a current record high unemployment rate of 13.6%. People need to make money, and to make money they need a job. The best combatant to Amazon deforestation would not just be to protect it, but to fix the economy and find people a job that doesn't force them to cut down trees. Because, end all be all, if you were out of work with a family to feed, and you got offered a job to clear out trees for a cattle ranch, would you take it?